While in power, one of Adolf Hitler's goals was to influence the accepted aesthetics of art within Europe to fit his artistic standards. Hitler despised modern art and attacked many important movements from the time. Modern movements like Cubism, Futurism, Impressionism, Expressionism, and Dadaism were all labeled degenerate and not within conservative taste. Art that was viewed by the party as being indecipherable, distorted, or depraved was explained as degenerate art and a product of inferior racial sensibilities. In this way, the Nazis used their theory of degeneracy to combine anti-Semitism with their need to control culture. Hitler admired the old masters and considered classic and neoclassic art to be pure. Anything that didn't adhere to these ideals was eventually purged from German museums. Some of these works were included in a degenerate art exhibit that toured Germany, while others were simply burned. The Nazis eventually began to plunder art from Jewish families and others all around Europe, for either their own personal collections or for state collections. Hitler had planned to create an enormous museum in Linz, Austria, that was meant to hold thousands of works from all around Europe. The Nazis looted art from cities while simultaneously capturing them. And cities that the Nazis did not find Germanic enough, such as Warsaw, which was seen as being too Slavic, were all razed in an attempt to destroy its people and culture. An estimated 20% of art in Europe was either looted or destroyed by the Nazis. Immediate post-war recovery and restitution of art was problematic for many reasons. The Monuments, Fine Arts, and Archives organization was formed to protect European monuments from destruction, and to find missing art after the war. But they had issues with keeping Allied forces from taking the art themselves. Another issue that arose was the distribution of found art immediately post-war to museums and state collections. Much of the art became subject to interstate treaties, and not much thought was put into considering original owners and private claims. Towards the end of the 20th century, more people began to come forward with their private claims to stolen art, and museums began to realize that parts of their collection were possibly stolen during the war. One of the most famous cases of looted art being claimed was of a series of paintings by Gustav Klimt, including a very famous painting that hung in the Gallery Belvedere, Woman in Gold. These paintings were commissions depicting a woman named Adele Bloch-Bauer, who died in 1925 and left a will stating that she wanted to leave the paintings to the Austrian Museum. However, the Nazis stole the paintings from her husband, who fled to Austria. After the war, the Austrian Museum didn't return the paintings to the family because of the will left by Adele Bloch-Bauer. This is a largely contested case because Adele Bloch-Bauer was not aware of the persecution that would take place in Austria, and because the works were never officially gifted to the museum. Many disputes involving stolen art become convoluted with contradictory amounts of law. There is often little to no consistency in the treatment of cases involving art theft, and the statute of limitations often changes from case to case. In some cases, a demand and refusal rule is used, which states that the statute of limitations for a suit in replevin begins only when the owner finds the goods and demands their return, and then the buyer refuses. Other cases use an intermediate discovery rule, which is based on when the original owner discovers, or should have discovered, the location of stolen goods. Even more extreme, some limitation periods begin based on either original theft or original purchase. These rules on the statute of limitations changes from country to country, which leads to multi-jurisdictional problems. Alan Schwartz writes about this in his paper titled Rethinking Laws of Good Faith Purchase, stating that the lack of harmony in good faith purchase laws, combined with a multi-billion-dollar market in stolen goods, creates costly and unnecessary domestic and international litigation. Many works and objects are still missing today, for several reasons. Many parties and jurisdictions feel entitled to certain works and objects, and there isn't a coherent set of laws on how to deal with cases involving looted objects. but the international community is working hard to return objects to their original owners. Restitution is such an important issue to consider when thinking about cultural memory and how the destruction and appropriation of other cultures can also be a form of genocide. Not respecting the memory of survivors and victims is essentially equivalent to not respecting the cultural context that certain works were removed from, and the cultural icons and structures that were destroyed by the Nazis in the pursuit of total aesthetic control. A lot of progress has been made, but the issue still persists, and the international community will need to continue to work together if a resolution is ever to be reached.